What's up, guys? It's Virtual Beats coming at you live once again in the simulation. And today's video is going to be different. We're going to be covering how to make hyperpop, that rage music, that anime aesthetic that a lot of people are, getting into. I don't know if it's, they're hearing the new Trippie album.
Who are you?
A fucking god.
You are Trippie Red.
A fucking Trippie Red.
But we're gonna get into it. So the first thing you need when you're making hyperpop is you need a good melody. So you can either sample it or you can play the melody. So I will be doing both. So for the main melody, it's gonna be a sample right here that I got. And for the second melody, the counter melody, it's gonna be something that I created originally. So for the sample, usually when you grab samples from wherever you grab them, it could be, an old game, old anime. It could be, using Looperman loops like this one by Kinex, or it can be using Splice. There's all kinds of places where you can get all kinds of sounds. When you get a sample, for example, so let me use this as demonstration. So when you get a sample and it's not on beat, so let's say I got this new sample and it's not on beat. All right, so when you get a sample and you drag it on there and you don't know the BPM, or it's the incorrect BPM, it'll overlap like this. So these are your bars right here. So this is one, each box right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you don't get that, there's numbers on the top to indicate it. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So what you want to do is you want to keep your sample aligned within the 4, 8, or 16 bars. Or no, 4, 8, wait, yeah, 4 or 4, 8, 12. Yeah, 4, 8, 12 all the way to 16. Okay, so when you get a sample, if it's not on the bars, like see how it overlapped, when you play it with the metronome, it's going to sound like this. Whether if you do it correctly, it sounds like this. So how to fix that is you can there's two ways you can do it. So one, you can grab this right here and you can drag it up until this reaches where it needs to go, and that's the BPM. You can right click this, hit tap, you can double tap this, click it, and as it's playing you can tap along, you can tap it out, so you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are ways you could do it. Or if you don't know the BPM and you just want to you want to make your own BPM and you want to stretch it to your own BPM, you can double click it, go right here where it says time, and it shouldn't look like this. It should look like this with nothing on it. The reason why it's stretched up perfectly and it's lined up is because this is the exact BPM that it needs to be. But for you, it might look like this, but it looks like this on the knob. To fix it, all you would have to do is you just got to make it line up within these bars. So you can keep it like this, a 4 bar, because this will still count as being on beat. Or you can do a 8 bar. We'll do the ticks because the ticks are less annoying. Yeah, that's usually how you do it. You go in here, you can normalize it. I usually don't mess with nothing else. Either time stretch it, and you're pretty much good. So once you get your sample lined up, and you got to know what key it is. So if, let's say the sample is 150 BPM and you want it to be 180, if you have stretch on, if you go if you time it with this and you change the BPM, it'll stay on beat, but you got to make sure it stretches on so it keeps the key. For whatever reason you want a different key, or you change the pitch, or you change whatever, you have to find the key of the sample, so that way your counter melody, your 808s, everything else can be on the right scale. To define that, you could use these things right here that I'm going to pull up. You could use auto key, or you could use these websites right here that detect the key of your sample. Auto key is the most quick and efficient way, but you're gonna have to, you know, break the bank to, you know, get the key out of it. So we got the sample right here, it's good. And now into the counter melody. So this is the counter melody. Oh, let me unmute everything. So that's the counter melody. So how I did that, I used a plugin. If you have FL Studio, it should come in here already. If you have, I forgot what update included Flex, but if you have FL Studio, you could just update it to the most recent. You get lifetime updates, and you'll get this plugin called Flex, and it has all kinds of sounds. You have synths, pianos. You can go crazy with this. You can tweak these sounds. And what I did is I got this synth right here. So you could shape it. You could do a lo-fi sound maybe. Stereo sound. Space. It's a cool plugin that's built in FL. You know, a lot of people want to reach to, you know, other plugins when, you know, you should use what you already have. So I did that. So I made it, I got the key of my sample, and I'm just playing notes in that key along with this. Alright, so what I did though is the EQing for the sample for this. I just added a normal EQ. And I actually got to fix this because this is not how it's supposed to be. But I get a default EQ, and what I'm doing with this, I don't know if you hear the sample, but it has bass, a lot of bass in this area. So that bass is really gonna mess with my 808s that I want to add to this, my drums. It's gonna interfere, the audio is gonna clash. So what I'm gonna do to fix that is right click this, high pass filter, drag this over to wherever you feel, you know, it sounds good. I wouldn't copy this because, you know, sometimes samples you just need a little bit off. You might need a roll off, you might need a short, like a shorter cut. So what I do is you might need to boost these. Oh, okay, did not want to do that. You might want to boost these. But what I do is I'm going to do right click, high pass, and for me 153 is a good spot. It gets rid of all that bass, that bassiness that I don't want. So let's go ahead, play it without it. And I'm gonna turn it on. So the reason I cut that bass out is because I'm gonna play these 808s right here. And the 808s, I'm not gonna go into the 808s because we're gonna be here forever, and I already got a video covering everything you need to know about 808s on my channel. I'll bring it up right here. It'll be in the annotations. Yeah, with this video, it covers how to tune your 808s, how to find the key, how to, you know, secret like plugins I'll use to get a note, like a fat 808 sound. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay. And yeah, so we got the 808s, and we're gonna add it to the melody. So here we go. Here's the, I think these are 808s. Yep. So I'm gonna play the 808 without the kick and just the melody. And now let me take off this EQ that cut the bass, and look, you're gonna see it colliding. It just sounds terrible. You hear two basses colliding with each other. So with this on, it just makes room for the 808s. You want room for everything. You might need you might add certain instruments or certain things over here. You might want to tone certain areas down. You want to make room for everything. You don't want nothing colliding. You don't want your sounds to, you know, stack up crazy and all this nonsense. You want clean cuts and you want room. So once you got the counter melody and everything, then you go into drums. So for the 808s, I just hooked up my MIDI keyboard and I just played along and just played whatever sounded good. You know, this is on key with it, so I just played whatever sounded good. I made a little melody. And for the 808s, I want them to have more punch. So a good way to have a punch is to just layer your 808s with a kick. So I layered them with a kick right here, as you can see. I put, so you can see where each time there's an 808 being played, I'm putting a kick. So there's a kick here, kick here, kick here, kick here. Sometimes you don't want to add kicks, you know. Maybe it sounds better without a kick. If you don't want that punch, the extra punch, don't add a kick, you know. So let me go ahead and play it. And then we got the hi-hats. So the hi-hats, simple hi-hat pattern. I didn't go crazy with them, you know. I just did a little skip at the end. So we're gonna go ahead and play the hi-hat pattern. Hi-hats, I didn't really touch it. I didn't really add an EQ or anything. You know, sometimes you don't need to add a EQ. Sometimes you don't need to add an EQ. Sometimes you don't need to add certain things. You know, sometimes the sound is good, and it really comes down to sound selection for these beats. You wanna pick sounds where you have to do. I don't want to say it. I mean, it is the least amount of work, but you want to do sounds that already sound good. You shouldn't be picking sounds and then spending like 10-20 minutes trying to shape a snare to get it to how you sound. You should look for a snare that sounds as close as you need it to be without having to go in there and tamper with it. So I got me a hi-hat that I liked. I didn't change nothing of it other than the volume level, and I leveled it. And now I added the claps. So the claps are simple, you know, just put them on, you know, every other blue. Claps didn't really do nothing, just brought the volume up. And yeah, that's pretty much that right there. So and in the rest of the beat, I structured it, you know, so it doesn't get boring. We'll cut out the melody right here. And now I'm gonna show you another thing to have your beats less boring. You want to have transitions, you want to have switch ups, you want to have rises, you want to have build ups. So for the beat, it can get really bland at times, and you can add automation. So if you don't know how to one take, we only doing one take, but you got to add automation. So this is the automation I added right here. So it plays at low volume and it'll build up slowly to the full volume. So to do that, it's simple. So we're gonna start off with a new pattern or a new sample. So what you do is you get your sample right here. So ignore this, ignore everything on this screen except this here. Let me just mute everything. So what you would do is you double click this. All right, so you right click, go to create automation. It'll pull up this right here. So you don't want to mess with this line. This line right here is the volume you had it at. So what I recommend is you create two versions. So you have, so this is your sample, right? This is your sample again. So what I would do before you even drop this menu down, so let's pretend that this doesn't exist right here. All right, you go double click this. Before you create automation, make another one, and it's going to be a duplicate. So it's going to say the same thing. Click this right here, go to make unique. Now this is different. This is a different sample than this. So if I turn the volume all the way back and I go to this one, it's going to be it's a whole different thing. It's whatever I do to this one doesn't affect the second one. So with that being said, if I put a low volume and it raises to, you know, its starting point, it's not going to affect this. Whatever I do to this, it's not going to affect. If I want to change the pitch on this, it's not going to affect this. Look. So you can do all kinds of stuff. You can automate pitch, time, everything. But for now, we're going to show you how to do the volume. So automating the volume is the same for the pitch and everything. So just apply this to the pitch or the time or the panning, whatever you like to do. So I want to pan the volume. I right click the volume, automation. Okay. And then we can cut this because this is its own thing. And this sample is only going to be here, the low effect one. All right. And then we're going to cut it again. Oh, Control Z to undo your, you know, misplaced cuts. So we're going to cut it right here. Then we're going to make this one unique right here. So whatever we do to this left side won't affect the right side. So we do that because if I want to pull this down, it's not going to mess with this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna right click this corner and then I'm gonna right click this right here, and now I have a bend. So when I play it, or you can do, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. You can go ahead, you can go up, down, like you can go crazy with these automations. If you guys want more tutorials on automations and how to go crazy with them, I can cover that. Hold on, we're gonna be right back. We're gonna reload this.
Hey guys, smoke a wood in the woods on some wood. I approve this message. 1408.
All right, so we're back. We got the project loaded. Another thing I added was crashes to build up the project, you know, build up the drop. So that's pretty much, you know, a beginning Hyperpop tutorial. Whatever type of genre you're doing, you really, you know, the biggest tip I can give you, the biggest advice is you want to make sure your sounds are on key. Sound selection is just the main thing for the beat. It's like you got to think of it as building a house. You want to use good quality stuff, because if you use terrible stuff, the house is just going to fall apart. It's going to crumble into pieces, and it's not going to, you know, it's not going to have a good foundation. It's going to be terrible. You choose terrible sounds, you have a terrible beat. You choose the wrong sounds. Let's say you want to make a West Coast beat, and you're using lo-fi sounds. It's not gonna happen unless you're doing a mashup. But if you really want to go for that sound, you need the correct sound. So before you even get into the beat, just make sure you have all the sounds necessary for the genre that you're doing. So if you're doing hyperpop, I'd recommend you go out there, collect hyperpop sounds, hyperpop loops, hyperpop drum kits. Same thing for West Coast stuff. If you want to use West Coast drum kits, West Coast claps, everything, you want to make sure you're using the correct sounds. Have a like extreme library of just endless sounds. That way you could choose them, play around with the melody. And yeah, that's really what it comes down to. So this is Virtual Beats. We signing out of the simulation.